Okay, so we're in Daniel chapter 4. Now, this one's an interesting chapter. I hope I can get to the end of it, so I'm going to kind of go really quick in the beginning. So, can y'all see this? I know it's kind of tilted. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, unto all the people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. All right, I thought it good to show the signs and the wonders that the high God hath wrought towards me. How great are his signs, how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. Daniel chapter 4 comes right after Daniel chapter 3, and at the end of Daniel chapter 3, we have Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael going into the burning fiery furnace. Y'all remember that? Okay, the thing about it is it doesn't happen right after. Just because we read it like that doesn't mean that it's directly after. So there has been some time that has passed. Daniel chapter 4 actually dates to the 30th to 35th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. If Daniel came to Babylon at 15 years old, he would be about 40 to 45 now. All right, so he's been there for a little while. So this doesn't take place directly, like chronologically, I guess you would say, in the year or even in the months after the burning fiery furnace. This is actually 25 to 30 years after the burning fiery furnace. So we're just getting the highlights, okay? Let me keep going. Nebuchadnezzar was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. I want you to pay attention to the words. Flourishing. Is that something good or something bad? It's good. You're flourishing, okay? I saw a dream and you're like, oh goodness, we got another dream. The last dream he had, he didn't remember. He demanded everybody tell him. If they couldn't tell him, you're dead, your family's dead, and all of that. So now we have another dream. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions in my head troubled me. Therefore I made a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me. Why wouldn't he? It worked the first time, right? That they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them. So he remembered this dream. He didn't remember the first one, he remembers this one. But they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar. That was the Babylonian name he was given, according to the name of who? My God. So here's what I want you to get with chapter 4. Chapter 3, he acknowledges Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael's God. Daniel chapter 2, he acknowledges Daniel's God. But he's still acknowledging his God too. All right, so this is what we would call like polytheistic. They believe in multiple gods. You're going to see this again in Daniel chapter 5, where they're worshiping the god of wood, the god of stone, the god of this and god of that. And they have gods for everything. So he's saying, my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. He's talking about Daniel. So he believes the spirit of the holy gods is in Daniel. And before him I told the dream, saying, so this is the dream, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions in my head and my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. So a big old huge tree. The tree grew, and it was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of the earth. So a tree that's going to just cover the whole earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the fields had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in boughs thereof, and all the flesh was fed of it. Okay, now I'm going to take you back to the first few verses. was this tree flourishing. It was flourishing. That's why that word's so important here. Flourishing. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher. Now, this is one of the few times where an angel is called a watcher, okay? And an holy one came down from heaven. And he cried aloud and said thus, "Hewn down that tree and cut off its branches." Why would you do that to a healthy tree? We'll see. We'll see. "Shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit. Let the beast get away from under it and the fowls from its branches." A perfect flourishing tree, we're going to cut it down, okay? So this is the good imagery of the tree. It's in the midst of the earth. Its height was great. The tree grew. It was strong. The height reached the heavens. All the earth could see the tree. The leaves of the tree were beautiful. It produced much fruit. There was food for beast and for bird. The tree sheltered the animals. The tree provided a home. Here's the bad. Cut it down. Cut off the branches. Strip the leaves. Scatter the fruit. Let the beast get away from under it. Get the birds out of the branches. Leave only the stump and the roots. Band it with iron. We haven't got there yet. I'm fixing to get there. Band it with iron and brass. Let it be wet with the dew of heaven. Let his portion be with beasts. Let his heart be changed from a man's to a beast, and let 7 times pass over it. Now let me read those. "Nevertheless, leave the stump and the roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven. And let his portion be with the beast in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from a man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him." Now this sounds like a riddle. It does. It sounds like a riddle. So Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 2, he was compared to the head of fine gold, like a part of a statue. All right? Babylon is that kingdom. Nebuchadnezzar is that head. In Daniel chapter 7, those same parts of the statue that I gave y'all the other week, they're described as beasts. So each kingdom successively will be a beast. Here specifically, it's talking about Nebuchadnezzar. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones. So he recognizes that this is coming from heaven, a holy one, an angel. This is the message from them, okay? "To the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men." What this means is Nebuchadnezzar, he did recognize Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael's God, but he didn't recognize him as the only God. He still saw many, many gods. The whole intent for this is so that the living may know that the Most High, who's the Most High? God, Creator God, ruleth in the kingdom of men. He sets up kings, he takes down kings. And you wonder, and we all wonder this, why did he put Hitler in charge? Why does he put dictators that commit genocide in charge of nations? Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Why does this happen? And we'll get into more of this like in Daniel chapter 10. But the thing about it is God's in control. He knew this kingdom was a wicked kingdom, and yet he let his people go into a wicked pagan society. Why would he do that? So let me ask you this. If you've ever studied the history of the church, when does the church really grow? Under persecution. When it's hard. Because that's where you get the most pure faith. When you study the early church, it was with a backdrop of evil, horrendous deaths. But what it did was it gave a pure faith to the church. These people that are going into the kingdom of Babylon, they've been there for years now. They're in a pagan society where they worship many gods. There's much debauched practices that are going on. But here's the thing. There's going to be people who will mold into that society. And then you're going to have the people, there's always a remnant, who are going to stick to their faith. The people that stick to their faith, you have it all throughout the Bible. You remember in the wilderness, how many people from that escaped Egypt were able to go into the promised land? 2. They were the ones that had faith. You see it over and over and over. There's a reason Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael are mentioned in here. They are part of the remnant that stayed true to their faith. And that is a remarkable task for a 15-year-old boy taken from his home, taken from his parents, that he is able to stick consistently to those convictions. And he's now 40 to 45. That's amazing. Excuse me. Let me keep going. I want to take you to Matthew. Matthew 7:17 through 19. Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So this looks like a good tree, doesn't it? But is it? Must not be. It must not be. Because who's behind it? Nebuchadnezzar. But the thing is does it matter if somebody rules a nation, does it matter who they submit to? They're the leader. It does matter who they submit to. And I'm going to time out right here because we can put this on today's society. Now, I don't know if y'all are like me, but in the news, probably the last 3 weeks, I have seen video after video after video, and it's comparing Islam to Christianity. And there are a lot of people saying, like very prominent, well-known people saying, oh, well, we worship the same God, and we can get along, and we can this and this and this and this and this. No. It is scary. It is scary because if you ever study Islam, you would change your mind. And that's the problem. Most people don't have a clue what it's about. And just because you get up and you say you're a peaceable religion, it don't make it so. Don't make it so. All right? Scary, scary thing. Daniel 4:18. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Can I say this? When people look at us, do they know that the Holy Spirit's within us? I hope so. I hope so. Y'all probably don't think about that with me this morning, me talking about somebody almost drowning at the beach. Does. I'll do that little song we used to sing. The Lord's still working on me. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was astonished for an hour. That means he's astonished. He's shocked for an hour. And I like the fact that he took his time. It's not like he just shot something off at the mouth or anything like that. His thoughts troubled him. And the king spake and said, Belshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. Excuse me. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heavens, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves are fair, and fruit thereof much, and in it were meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong. And for thy greatness is grown and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. This was the kingdom at the time. They had conquered many other kingdoms. They had brought them in to Babylon. They had conquered a lot at this time. And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one come down from heaven, and saying, hewn the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump and the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let its portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king. This is a decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king. They shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass of the oxen. That's odd. They're going to make King Nebuchadnezzar, this destroyer of countries and everything else, eat grass. And they shall be wet with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump and the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. So he's still going to be rooted into the kingdom. After thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable to thee. Like, this is a listen up moment. Listen to my counsel here, because this is going to happen, right?
Hello?
And break off thy sins.
Okay.
Get that? Break off your sins, or you're fixing to be honed down. You're fixing to be cut down. Like, break off your sins before they break you. Okay? By righteousness and thine iniquities, by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be lengthening of thy tranquility. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. All this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. So everything that God said that was going to happen is actually going to happen. And at the end of 12 months, he walked into the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of thy kingdom by the power of my power and for the honor of my majesty? You get that? That's narcissistic. Me, I. Can we relate that to today too? I think we live in the most narcissistic society that there is. It's all about me. And I think social media made it worse. I wouldn't even say tenfold. I would say like a millionfold. A millionfold. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven, saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee eat grass of an oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High King ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. That's the 3rd time he said that. When God repeats himself 3 times, better listen. Then the same hour was the thing fulfilled on Nebuchadnezzar. The same hour. And he was driven from men, and he did eat grass as an ox, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till the hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. What in the world? This sounds like a sci-fi movie, right? Okay, so I did research and I looked it up for you. There's 2 things I want to point out. Y'all heard of lycanthropy? No? Okay, most of the time, lycanthropy is like werewolves. Werewolves would be kind of tied to lycanthropy, like a human being morphing into a wolf, okay? All right, so it comes from the Greek lykos, meaning wolf, and anthros, meaning man. So lycanthropy is actually a mental disorder. I did not realize that, but it is. Which the patient believes that he is a wolf or some other non-human animal. Well, there's another one that I found, and it's called bonethropy. It's similar, but this is where a man believes himself to be a cow or a pig. I know, I'm getting looks.
Well, we have people right now, you know, that
I know, right? Right? So, and I'm giving this to you because it is a documented mental condition. Some people believe that this is what Nebuchadnezzar had. Sure, could be. God could use that, or this could be something totally supernatural, either way. But I wanted to give you this because this is actually neat. I know you're not going to be able to see it, but I put it up there anyway. So, Raymond Harrison recites a personal experience with a modern case similar to that of Nebuchadnezzar, which he observed a British mental institution in 1946. Harrison writes, a great many doctors spend an hour busy professional career without once encountering an incident of this kind of boanthropy described in the book of Daniel. Harrison therefore considers himself particularly fortunate to have observed a clinical case of boanthropy in the British Mental Institution in 1946. The patient was in his early 20s who had reportedly been hospitalized for about 5 years. His symptoms were well developed on admission, and diagnosis was immediate and conclusive. He was of average height and weight, good physical physique, and he had excellent bodily health. His mental symptoms included pronounced antisocial tendencies, and because he spent the entire day from dawn to dusk outdoors in the grounds of the institution, his daily routine consisted of wandering around the magnificent lawns of the hospital, and he was accustomed to pluck and eat handfuls of grass all day long. And on observation, he was seen to discriminate carefully between grass and weeds. On inquiry, the attendant Harrison was told that the diet of the patient consisted exclusively of grass from the hospital lawns. He never ate institutional food with other inmates, and his only drink was water. The writer was able to examine him curiously, and the only physical abnormality noted consisted of lengthening of the hair and a coarse, thickened condition of the fingernails. Sound familiar? Possible. Without institutional care, the patient would have manifested precisely in the same physical conditions as those in Daniel 4:33. From foregoing, it evident that the 4th chapter of Daniel is describing an accurate and attestable mental affliction. So there are cases of this. Just because I've never heard of them before, don't mean they don't exist. But I found that interesting that they have been able to diagnose something like this. There are several ancient historians that record lycanthropy. There's actually, if you study history, a certain time frame where people started to believe in werewolves and things like that. And it could have all just stemmed from one person having this sort of thing, and then it just fed kind of like the whole herd effect, it fed fears of people, and it kind of spread that way. So it could have actually come from a mental condition. This is a partial quote from Eusebius, who quotes another ancient historian before his time. Eusebius quotes regarding Nebuchadnezzar, Abydos, in his History of the Assyrians, has preserved the following fragment of Megasthenes, who says that, I'm not even going to try to say that, I'm just going to say Nebuchadnezzar, having become more powerful than Hercules, it's odd, but okay, invaded Libya and Iberia, and when he had rendered them tributary, they were paying tribute to him, he extended his conquest over the inhabitants of the shores upon the right of the sea. It is moreover related to the Chaldeans that as he went up into his palace, he was possessed by some god, and he cried out and said, O Babylonians, I, Nebuchadnezzar, foretell unto you a calamity which must shortly pass, da 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 da. The part that I want you to get is some historian, way back then, recorded that Nebuchadnezzar was actually possessed by some god, like he lost his mind. This is like a historical note that shows what we're seeing inside our Bible. We have mental, diagnosis that can prove what is inside our Bible. So then we pick up with Daniel 4:34. So I'm losing my voice. I'm almost to the end. And at the end, it's going to crack. At the end of days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up my eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned to me. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. 7 times it was going to pass over him. It's believed that's 7 years. Now think of, you're this huge figure of a king. He's called the destroyer of nations by history. He goes in, he's got this presence about him. Not only he is narcissistic, he's got to put his name on everything. We already went over that. But the thing about it is, he was weakened and he was cut down to make him humble. I pray the Lord never has to do that to us, to make us humble. You know, I'm serious. I'm serious because God means business when it comes to humility. What does it say about pride? Comes before the fall. And you know what? The sad thing is, the generations that are coming along now, I don't know they know the meaning of the word humble. I don't know they know the meaning of the word meek. But God's word still says it. The meek shall what? Inherit the earth. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the armies of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? At the same time, my reasoning returned unto me, and for the glory of the kingdom, mine honor and my brightness returned to me. So he came back to the throne. He was restored. And my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added to me. So if it's added to him, it's better than before. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. Our God is able. We don't want to do that at all. I have 2 more things, or 2 more slides. This right here is a Babylonian cuneiform tablet. It's broken, as you can see. It was first published in 1975 by A.K. Grayson. It's now in the British Museum. But I wanted to show it to you because this is the interpretation. I know you probably can't see it, but I'm going to read part of it for you. It's talking about Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar considered his life appeared of no value to him. Now this is cut off because if you see the tablet, it's not perfect. So part of this is cut off. So I'm reading by sentence here. So Nebuchadnezzar considered his life appeared no value to him. The Babylonian speaks bad counsel to evil Merodach. Then he gives an entirely different order, but he does not heed the word from his lips, the counterfeit. So what it's saying is the king's not listening to his counselors. It's broken, but that's what it's saying. He does not show love to his son or daughter. Well, if he's out in the field eating grass, it's kind of hard to show love, if he's going through this. Family and clan do not exist. His attention was not directed towards promoting the welfare of Isgil and Babylon. He prays to the Lord of Lords. He raises his hands. He weeps bitterly to Marduk, the great gods. His prayer goes forth. So although this tablet's damaged and missing text, you can make out like he like during this time, it matches up with the time that Nebuchadnezzar's going through this thing. So it's like he's there, but he's not there, you know. And so again, it's one of the things that kind of shows the account from chapter 4 of Daniel. Makes sense? All right, y'all got questions? So I'll go Daniel chapter 5 next week. Daniel 5 is interesting. Y'all will remember. Does anybody know what the biggest thing that happens in Daniel chapter 5? I'll give you a hint. Writing on the wall. Very good. If I had a sticker, I'd give it to you.